Hey guys, it's Al from Altruistic Channels, and I'm back. Actually, I just posted something that was a little bit harsher to kind of understand or to hear, so I kind of waited a couple minutes before I posted this. But this message is actually for the people that I was addressing in the previous video. So, what I had mentioned is the harsh truth is that some twin flames, unfortunately, are not able to make the journey beyond this point together, and it's a separation that has to happen. And so I kind of wanted to bring that message forward and kind of let that give it a space before, like, to reside and to drop that tower. It's not something pleasurable, but it's something that you do in this particular environment. And since I seem to be in a leadership role that I'm taking it, and I'm like actively engaging it. So I'm speaking to that level of person, which is I'm speaking to the person who actually did the work and is actually going forward and having to let go of the twin flame. So the first bomb was that sadly, not all twin flames are going to go together, right? The other person, for whatever reason, didn't step up to the plate, or something happened, whatever it is. We never blame another person. We always give them compassion and understanding. But understand that even in how I'm saying it, I've separated the emotional attachment from him. And I needed to do that because otherwise I was tying my fate to someone else, and I couldn't be in two worlds at one time. So that's kind of who I'm speaking to. So for those of you like me who knew the level of your twin flame and you understood that the dynamic behind it wasn't just romance and a reward, but an actual task, and associated with probably those of you that I'm speaking to directly, there's something to be said about the fact that it did not work out. And so I need everybody to kind of focus their energies on that alignment, okay? So essentially what we've come to understand is the twin flame is a dynamic where two very strong pure souls are being put together to do something incredibly powerful for humanity in some way as a world servant, right? So it's an alignment with another person, but essentially you're almost tethering your fate to another person because of the energy, basically the frequency that you're at, and you must be able to reside at that level continuously, right? That's basically the lesson here. So what happened is, for those of us who became on the path, we became triggered with our partner, and we realized how powerful they were because they were a mirror of who we are. And so it's a very important dynamic before we head out, that you understand that you're looking at either something that you're incredibly proud of or something that you really don't like in another person, because it's a reflection of who you are, and it's the way that you're understanding your experience. And so I knew he was incredibly powerful, and I was in love with him, and I basically gave him keys to the castle and the whole 9 yards, and he did do the work. It's not, he and I have talked about this, and it's not like, I'm not saying, you don't even know who it is, but I had to mourn that, I guess is the point. So for those of you who are like me and having the harsh reality of that bomb and that tower coming down, it is a moment of perspective here, okay? So we're going to speak to that dynamic. So at the end of the day, what happened is that Spirit, being infinitely wise, source of all things, looked at the situation and said to you in some way, shape, or form, okay, this is not going to work. You got to cut it. You got to make a decision. What are you going to do? What are you going to do? And because it was coming through Spirit, we were not really clear. We were like, well, wait a minute. Isn't this our destiny? Isn't this like what we're meant to do? Isn't this like isn't this the cloth of my own? Like, I don't understand what's happening. And so you're sent into a spiral of it's a test. It's a test of who you are. And the way that you're reacting is very indicative of what's happening in your life and where you're going. And I need to let that reside. So the way you're being observed, and everybody at this level, I want everybody to be very clear of that. You already know this, though. It's a test. And it's not like a test, pass or fail. It's an actual test to see where you're going to reside with stuff. And so it is the clear question of, can you compartmentalize your emotional attachment to things in a way that still honors everything that you need to do, and be pure for humanity and there for humanity, and to be there for your twin flame and to understand it. But can you then make the tough choice? And that's who I'm speaking to. So I'm being drawn to what I've been doing behind the scenes. So for me, for example, it came to me in a very clear way that it's not accidental that all of this is kind of kicking off for the next phase on the 26th of December. And I started to think, well, wait a minute, that seems kind of like familiar. What else happens around? It's fucking Christmas. And so it is a clear reward, but are you taking it that way? And it's very important for you to stop and think about that right now. If you thought that you were going to get the twin flame and the destiny and all of that's wonderful, and maybe you did manifest it, but the reality is that it was attached to another person, and did they do the work? If they didn't, it's severed. Let it go. You have to now, because you can't be lived in both. So either you're going to deny your fate or your destiny and attach it to someone else, which is incredibly romantic, and I'm totally down with that if that's what you want. But understand, it's for the next 40 fucking years. This is a big divide. Or are you going to step into your own power and RSVP for that person on the other side and say, I'm going ahead because I want to save our spot, but let me tell you something, you better fucking do the work. And leave it in that kind of like pulling them forward in a rewarding kind of like uplifting way. Are you uplifting them, or are you anchoring yourself down? And you need to make that very clear. You need to make that decision right now as soon as you hear this, because it's already, judgment has passed. That's essentially what I'm saying. And you can't change it. So it's about coming into that, because you now have a bunch of questions that you should be asking yourself about how this is going to play out forward. Because if you were like on Noah's Ark, if you want to go that route, if you were going on Noah's Ark as a pair and now you're going by yourself, what does that mean for who you are going to, what are you doing? What is your task? What are you preparing? These are questions that your mind should kind of be focusing on. But if you haven't come into alignment with the fact that you're not getting your twin flame, because maybe another destiny has created itself, because the truth is that your vibrations changed. And it's something very significant. I think people are downplaying that, and they're playing more the dynamic with the twin flame. The twin flame is a rewarding system of mirroring each other, but it's also a handicap to some degree. If you look at it from the standpoint of, if you are in your own power, which is you first should be in alignment with yourself, and you should be able to stand on your own. And then the reward is by doing and clearing your shit, you get the twin flame. But what happens is that sometimes when people really step into, some people are innately powerful beyond what they know, and when they tap into their truths and into their ancestral bloodline and things like that, and they understand who they were in alignment with who they are now, it all comes crashing down, and you realize that sometimes your destiny was to experience what you're experiencing, which is you have to mourn that loss in 100% honesty and realize the implications of what that means for your future. And let that sit in your head, because you can't step into the leadership role you're being tasked with. And I'm getting the impression that those of you who are not going with your twin flame have just been promoted, is my personal opinion. And here's why I say that. Is because you are going on the ark by yourself. And you are literally showing in the last moment that, fastball. And here's what the truth. So the reason I'm bringing this to your attention is because it's going to play out in a very, very public way to some degree. You are basically being tasked with, how are you reacting to this? Are you empowered? Are you getting the message? Are you going forward? What are you doing? Because our shit's not perfect. So you're still going. The truth is that you're going forward, is what I'm saying. But you're not going forward in the way that you thought. And you got a really massive curveball at the end there. And it's showing the powers that be, if you will, which is all in one. But you know what I mean. The judge and jury, it's showing them what you're made of. And it's time for you to really let that resonate. Because you need to ask yourself some questions. And you need to source those questions in order for your clarity and for your comfortness. Because once we go forward, it's happening around the 26th of December, and you're tapping into a very specific consciousness at the level that I think that you and I are on. And so it's very important for you to let that reside in your head for a minute. You're tapping into a very specific something consciousness. And so when you're tapping into that level of stuff, it's asking you to show that you're committed to your future and to your destiny. And that you understand that not everything works out the way it's meant to, because you are preserving free will. Free will. Like you are showing the both dynamic within one, but you need to understand what's happening first in order to get to that. And so I want everybody at this level that we're speaking to, which like if we were doing like a spiral, if I was speaking to the spiral dynamics, this would be turquoise. I'm speaking to my turquoise community, where I'm at. It's a big separation. It's not the way that you meant it to be, but you're needing to feel it so that you can let go of the feeling, step forward into the position of power, whatever it is, because you're now wielding the sword of truth. Is basically what I'm saying. You are having to sever this on your own, so that you can bring back your energy and not tie your fate to it, and preserve the person's right to come forward because they're your twin. So in a way, it's like a weird way for them to get in to the VIP room. But they still need to do the work to get into the VIP room. Like, we can't shortcut that. But you don't want to tie it, so you tether it. Let it go and step into your power, because you have questions. There's something you need to ask that I need to point out to you. And I'm just trying to get you there. But you first need to feel it, let go of this, and look at what it is that's being tasked with you. Because now your responsibility is now all on you, and your brain should be going, wait a minute. I know that I'm really at a good place emotionally, and I know that I've, like, but wait, what? What exactly is happening here? And that's where I need everybody to be like, what exactly? Clarify. Take the moment to understand, in a weird way, from the right perspective. You just got a big promotion. Unfortunately, the person that you're with did not. Does that mean that you don't ever get another? These are questions to ask yourself, because going from the 26th on, it's the next 40 years. You're in it. It's not a second, like, we're going. It's done. So just take a moment to let that resonate, turquoise, and step into your power. That's it for Alan Altruistic Channel. I know it's like a very impassioned message, because I just needed everybody to understand that. Like, it's a very important thing for me. So step into your power, guys. It is what it is, and you know what? There is a bigger reward at the end of the tunnel. So there you go.